You're welcome to this particular phase of this training. So in this particular phase, I'll be talking about focal points. Now, what focal point is are just about what catches your attention in a design. When you first look at an art, like a digital art, a design, a content, what draws your attention first? That's what focal point is all about. It's focal, Focal. So that's what focal point is all about. What draws your attention first in a design? So when we just look at this design we're having here, the first thing that draws your attention is cool money, newbie. So because like it's actually surrounded by this text with same color, but this cool money and newbie is having like a different color from the headline. So it actually, and again, okay, let's just start. Let me just go take us through the. So let's bring in a text. So let's just bring in a text. Let's edit this, exit this place. Let's just start over again. So let's just start over again. So then I'll bring in. Let's just bring in a quote. This is a quote. Then let me just make this headline. All right. So let me just edit it. Let's just bring in a text. I am a boy. Okay. For example, let's just make. Okay. Let's edit this first. Okay. So, for example, just look at this. So I can look. Okay. Just check the size of this one is. This is also 31. All right. When I put this in here. When I put this thing beside it, your eyes, as you just look at this text, your eye first go to the first one. I am a boy. Why? Because it is actually separated from this text. It's actually separated from this text. So one way we can actually build focal points is by isolating something. I'm separating it. Okay, for example, when I just take this I am a boy here and put it up here, I've just created a focal point. Whenever you just look at this thing, your eyes will actually first go to that I am a boy, because I've actually created a focal point. So one way you can actually create focal point is by isolation. You isolate something. Another way you can actually create focal point, let me just see. Let me make it all caps now. Now just look at this. Put it here. Yeah. I've created a focal point. Now, once you just look at this I am a boy, because it is in capital letter, your eyes goes to that place first, because I've actually succeeded in making it different from the others. So the way you create focal point by making a particular thing different from another. Okay, well, let me just click on this I am a boy and just come to this place, italize it. It still draws your attention because it's quite different, even though it's a small letter. Even though I just come here and just put and make sure it is in small letter, still draws your attention, right? So that's one way of creating focal points. Let's just come to this time, just cancel this. Okay, so now let's come to all caps. So that's one way, by isolation. You create focal point by isolation. That's one way. So another way you can actually make focal points is by increasing the size. That you can see that headline in the previous design I showed us. For this one, I am a boy. So I've succeeded in creating focal points by increasing the size of this text. So once you just look at this thing, what you're going to do is it draws your attention. Why? Because it is now different from the others. The size on its own attracts. So another way I can create focal points is probably I just make it bold. focal point. It draws your attention. Right, so I've increased the size. I've also made it bold. All right. So another way I can actually add focal point is by changing the color. Now, for example, you see this one. Probably it is here. Your eye still first goes there. Okay, let's just see this one is still a small letter. Still size. It's still small letter, right? So the size is still that 31. Your eye still goes there first. Because why? Of the color. So one way you can actually draw an attention to your designs is by changing the color. So the other one whereby you can actually create focal points is by using lines. But you're using lines to point towards something. Okay, let's just bring in an arrow. Let's bring in an arrow from this design. Let's reduce the scale. Okay, this is my arrow, for example, and I just edit the arrow. Let me just come and reduce the stroke. All right, so let's just reduce the stroke width. So okay. So in this design, now where did your eye go first? Actually the arrow. But the arrow now points your direction to this I am a boy. Your eye first goes to this arrow, then it points your direction to I am a boy. So that's one way of creating focal point in your design. When you point to something, or you just use something that draws attention, that's how you create focal point in a design. So another way of, okay, this I've actually used text now. Let me use shapes now. Okay, let me still leave that line. Let's still leave that line. Let me bring in a shape. Okay, this is a shape. Sorry about that. Let me copy this, put this here, the same place. Let's just minimize those lines. For example, now we're having a background here. This in general is actually a background with a shape in the middle. Once you just look at this interface, the interface of the screen now, your eyes actually first goes to the shape in the middle because it is kind of different from everything that is surrounding it. Okay, for example, now let's now bring in another shape. Your eye still goes to the first two. Now your eye actually first goes to, is in between. My eye is actually in between now, trying to look at what to focus on first. But for example, now let me now come in. Let me now bring this here, and okay, let me just make sure it's at the center. Then my eye is still like confused what to focus on. I don't know what to focus on. But let me now come here. I reduce the size, put it here. So the first thing my eye goes to is the small one. So that's how we create focal points. Goes to the small one. Or let me do it like this. It still goes to the one in the middle because it's kind of different. It's surrounded by two different same objects, but it is now different from the two of them. So that's how you make something different from another. So I can now, let me just still go back. Okay, I just change the shape to probably a circle. I put it back. So your eye still goes to the circle first. This is me creating focal points in my design. Okay, let's still make use of the shape. Let's just come here and change the color. Let's come here and change the color. Let's change the okay for to red. Our eye still goes first to the one in red because it's kind of different from the other one. So it's either I make it big or I make it small. So that's how you see when you see designs. Designers are actually trying to draw your attention to something using different things. That's what we call focal points. Let me show you some of my previous works. All right, so this is a design I did in first. So once you see that boot camp is kind of showing, it is actually popping, it is bright and it's drawing my attention. So when I look at this design and it's big, my eye goes first to the boot camp. Then I look at copywriting, boot camp. Before I look at what is at the top, then I come straight to what is behind. I'm trying to ignore the lady's face now. So this is focal points. Actually talking about focal points. Focal points using this design. All right, so it is me creating something different from everything that is here. I'm actually creating something different from everything that is here. So whenever you just look at this design, you actually know, okay, this is the most important. It tells you what is more important in any design. All right, so that's everything I have on this part of this training. We'll see in the next video.